What happens when one of television's most beloved hosts comes face to face with a guest who refuses to play by the rules? In just 35 seconds, a casual conversation turned into the most shocking meltdown in late-night history. And it all started with one simple question that nobody saw coming. Jon Stewart sat behind his desk that evening, ready for what seemed like another standard interview. The studio audience buzzed with excitement. Meghan Markle walked onto the stage with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. The applause was polite, but restrained. Something felt off from the very beginning. "Welcome to the show," Jon said, standing to greet his guest. "Thanks for being here." "Well, I almost didn't come," Meghan replied, settling into her chair. "Your people were incredibly difficult about my requests." Jon's eyebrows raised slightly. The audience shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't the warm opening anyone expected. "Requests?" Jon asked, keeping his tone light. "We try to accommodate everyone." "What was the issue?" "I asked for specific lighting. I asked for approval over the questions. I asked for my own makeup team to stay on set. Apparently, that's too much to ask." The audience went quiet. Jon leaned back in his chair, processing what he just heard. "Well, we have a great lighting team here, and our makeup artists are some of the best in the business. As for approving questions, that's not really how we do things. The conversation works best when it's natural, you know?" Meghan's expression hardened. "Natural? You mean unprepared? I don't do unprepared." Jon smiled, trying to ease the tension. "It's not about being unprepared. It's about having a real conversation. That's what people connect with." "People connect with what I allow them to connect with," Meghan shot back. "I've spent years crafting my public image. I'm not about to let it unravel on some comedy show." The audience gasped. Some comedy show. Those 3 words hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled out. Jon's face remained calm, but his eyes showed a flash of something else. Disappointment, maybe, or disbelief. "I see," Jon said slowly. "So you view this as beneath you?" "I didn't say that," Meghan said, though her tone suggested otherwise. "I'm simply saying that I have standards. This show is fine for what it is, but let's not pretend it's serious journalism." Jon nodded thoughtfully. The audience didn't know whether to laugh or stay silent. This was spiraling fast. "You're right. We're not serious journalism. We're a place where people can relax, be themselves, and have honest conversations. Sometimes we're funny. Sometimes we're serious. But we're always real." "Real," Meghan repeated, almost mockingly. "Is that what you call it when you make fun of people? When you use cheap jokes to tear down public figures?" "We make fun of powerful people who deserve scrutiny," Jon explained. "There's a difference between punching up and punching down. We try to hold people accountable while making people laugh." "And who made you the arbiter of who deserves what?" Meghan asked, her voice rising. "What gives you the right to decide who gets mocked and who doesn't?" Jon took a breath. The audience could feel his patience being tested. This wasn't going how anyone planned. "I don't decide anything alone. We have writers. We have producers. We think carefully about what we put on air. And ultimately, people can choose whether to watch or not." "How convenient," Meghan said. "Hide behind the team. Avoid personal responsibility. Very typical." "I'm not hiding behind anyone," Jon said, his voice firmer now. "I stand by everything we do here. Every joke, every segment, every interview, including this one." "This one?" Meghan laughed bitterly. "This one is a disaster. You're clearly not prepared to handle a guest of my caliber." The audience stirred. Some people whispered to each other. This was getting uncomfortable. To watch. Jon Stewart, known for his quick wit and sharp commentary, seemed genuinely taken aback by the hostility radiating from his guest. "A guest of your caliber," Jon repeated. "Help me understand what that means." "It means someone who actually matters," Meghan said without hesitation. "Someone with influence. Someone with a platform. someone who doesn't need this show to stay relevant. The studio fell completely silent. You could hear the cameras humming. Someone in the back coughed. Jon Stewart stared at his guest with an expression that mixed shock with something close to pity. "If you don't need this show, why are you here?" Jon asked simply. Meghan opened her mouth to respond, then closed it. She hadn't expected such a direct question. "I'm here because my publicist thought it would be good exposure," she finally said. "But clearly, that was a mistake." "Clearly," Jon agreed. "So, let me ask you something. What did you hope to accomplish tonight? What did you want to talk about?" "I wanted to talk about my charity work, my initiatives, the important things I'm doing to change the world. But you probably wanted to ask about gossip and drama, right?" Jon shook his head. "Actually, I was going to ask about your charity work. That's literally the first question on my card here." He held up a blue note card. Meghan's face flushed slightly. "Well, you should have led with that instead of all this small talk," she said defensively. "The small talk is how we build rapport," Jon explained. "It's how the audience gets to know you as a person, not just a public figure. But if you'd rather skip it, we can skip it. Tell me about your charity work." Meghan straightened in her chair, seemingly relieved to change topics. "I've been working with several organizations that focus on women's empowerment and education. It's incredibly important work that doesn't get nearly enough attention." "That sounds great," Jon said genuinely. "What specific projects are you most proud of?" "Well, there are so many," Meghan said vaguely. "I don't even know where to start. I'm involved in so many initiatives across so many countries. It's honestly overwhelming sometimes." "Pick one," Jon encouraged. "Just one project. Tell us about it in detail." Meghan hesitated. "There's one in Africa. We're building schools. Or wells. Actually, I think it might be both. My team handles most of the logistics." Jon's expression showed confusion. "You're not sure if you're building schools or wells?" "I'm sure," Meghan said quickly. "I'm just saying we're doing both. Multiple projects. It's hard to keep track of everything when you're making such a big impact." "Right," Jon said slowly. "So you're very involved in the day-to-day operations?" "Of course I am," Meghan insisted. "I'm the face of these initiatives. People donate because of me, because of my name, because of what I represent." "And what do you represent?" Jon asked. "Change. Progress. A voice for the voiceless." "The voiceless," Jon echoed. "That's interesting, because it seems like you have quite a large voice yourself. Multiple platforms, media coverage, book deals, Netflix contracts. How does someone with all that speak for the voiceless?" Meghan's eyes narrowed. "Are you questioning my authenticity?" "I'm asking how you connect with people who don't have the advantages you have," Jon clarified. "It's a reasonable question." "My advantages?" Meghan's voice rose again. "You have no idea what I've been through, the struggles I've faced, the obstacles I've overcome." "You're right," Jon said. "I don't know your full story. That's why I'm asking. But I do think there's value in acknowledging privilege when we have it. It doesn't diminish our struggles. It just provides context." "I don't have privilege," Meghan said firmly. "I've earned everything I have." "Those two things aren't mutually exclusive," Jon pointed out. "You can work hard and also benefit from certain advantages. Most successful people have both." "Most successful people don't have to constantly justify their success," Meghan countered. "But I do, because people like you can't accept that maybe, just maybe, I deserve what I have." "I never said you don't deserve success," Jon said, his patience clearly wearing thin. "I'm just trying to have an honest conversation about how we use our platforms, about responsibility, about being genuine with people who support us." "Genuine?" Meghan laughed harshly. "You want to talk about being genuine? You sit here every night performing for cameras, reading jokes other people write, pretending to care about issues that don't affect you personally. And you want to lecture me about authenticity?" The audience gasped again. This had crossed a line. Jon Stewart's face showed real anger now, though he kept his voice controlled. I do care about the issues we cover, deeply. And yes, I have writers. I've never hidden that. But I also spend hours researching, reading, trying to understand complex problems. I don't just show up and read a teleprompter. Could have fooled me, Meghan muttered. What was that? Jon asked sharply. Nothing, Meghan said. Continue with your speech about how noble and dedicated you are. Jon set down his note cards. He looked directly at Meghan with an intensity that made the studio feel even smaller. I'm not noble. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. But I try. I genuinely try to do good work and treat people with respect. Even when they walk onto my show and insult everything I've built. Oh, please, Meghan said dismissively. You've built a career on insults. Don't act wounded when someone gives it back to you. There's a difference between satirizing powerful institutions and personally attacking someone who's trying to do their job, Jon said. And there's a difference between being a guest and being deliberately hostile. I'm hostile? Meghan said incredulously. You've been hostile since I sat down. These passive-aggressive questions, these little digs, I see what you're doing. I've asked you about your charity work. I've tried to understand your perspective. I've been patient even when you insulted my show, my team, and my credibility. What exactly have I done that's hostile? Meghan stood up abruptly. The audience jumped slightly at the sudden movement. I don't have to sit here and take this, she announced. I don't have to justify myself to you or anyone else. You don't, Jon agreed, remaining seated. But you did choose to come here. You did choose to sit in that chair. And now you're choosing to leave because the conversation isn't going the way you wanted. The conversation isn't going anywhere because you're impossible to talk to, Meghan said, her voice shaking with anger. You think you're so smart, so clever, but you're just another man trying to put me in my place. Jon's expression shifted to something like sadness. Is that really what you think this is about? I know what this is about, Meghan said. This is about you trying to make me look bad, trying to embarrass me. Well, congratulations. You got your viral moment. I hope it was worth it. I didn't want a viral moment, Jon said quietly. I wanted a conversation. I wanted to learn about your work and give you a platform to share your message. That's all I ever wanted. Liar, Meghan spat. You wanted to tear me down, just like everyone else. If you truly believe that, then I'm sorry, Jon said. I'm sorry you see the world that way. I'm sorry you came here with so much defensiveness and hostility. And I'm sorry we couldn't find a way to connect. Meghan grabbed her purse from beside the chair. Save your apologies. I don't need them. Meghan, please sit down, Jon said, his tone softening. We can start over. We can talk about whatever you want. No tricks. No gotcha questions. Just two people having a conversation. No, Meghan said firmly. I'm done. This interview is over. You're walking out? Jon asked, though the answer was obvious. I'm leaving before this gets any worse, Meghan said. Before you twist my words even more. Before you make me into a villain for your audience to laugh at. Nobody's laughing, Jon pointed out. The audience sat in stunned silence, watching the scene unfold. They will be, Meghan said bitterly. Once you edit this, once you add your little commentary, once you turn this into a joke. We don't edit our interviews like that, Jon said. What happens here is what people see. No manipulation, no tricks. I don't believe you, Meghan said, walking toward the edge of the stage. Jon stood up finally. Meghan, wait, please. Let's talk about this like adults. She spun around, fury written across her face. Like adults? You want to talk like adults? Fine. Here's some adult truth for you. You're past your prime. This show is past its prime. You rely on cheap shots and easy targets. because you don't have the talent for anything deeper. And when someone challenges you, when someone doesn't play along with your little game, you can't handle it. The audience collectively held its breath. Jon Stewart, veteran of countless interviews and confrontations, looked genuinely hurt by the words, but he composed himself quickly. "You're entitled to your opinion," he said calmly, "and you're entitled to leave if you want. But before you go, I want you to know something. I invited you here in good faith. I prepared thoughtful questions. I was ready to give you a fair platform. And instead of meeting me halfway, you came in swinging. You insulted my show, my team, and me personally. So if this interview failed, it's not because I didn't try." "Keep telling yourself that," Meghan said. "Whatever helps you sleep at night." "I'll sleep fine," Jon said. "My conscience is clear." "Of course it is," Meghan said mockingly. "The great Jon Stewart. Always right. Always justified. Never at fault." "I never said I was never at fault," Jon replied. "I've been wrong plenty of times. But not today. Today I tried to be a good host. You chose to be a difficult guest." "Difficult," Meghan repeated. "There it is. The word men always use when women don't behave the way they're supposed to." Jon sighed deeply. "This isn't about gender. This is about basic respect and courtesy. Any guest, regardless of gender, who came on here and acted this way would get the same response from me." "Sure," Meghan said sarcastically. "I'm sure you're equally tough on all your guests, not just the women who refuse to laugh at your jokes and stroke your ego." "I don't need my ego stroked," Jon said, frustration creeping into his voice. "I need guests who are willing to have real conversations, who are willing to engage honestly, who don't come in with an agenda to create conflict." "I didn't create this conflict," Meghan shouted. "You did with your condescending questions and your judgmental tone." "My questions were fair," Jon insisted, "and my tone was professional until you made it impossible to stay professional." "There you go again," Meghan said, "blaming me for your behavior, taking no responsibility." "I'm taking full responsibility for my part in this," Jon said, "but you need to take responsibility for yours. You need to acknowledge that you came here ready for a fight." "Maybe I did," Meghan admitted. "Maybe I knew exactly what kind of interview this would be. And I was right." "You created a self-fulfilling prophecy," Jon said. "You assumed the worst and acted accordingly. You didn't give us a chance." "I don't owe you a chance," Meghan said coldly. "I don't owe you anything." "You're right," Jon agreed. "You don't. But you owe it to yourself to be better than this, to be bigger than this petty hostility." Meghan's face reddened. "Don't you dare tell me what I owe myself. You don't know me. You don't know what I've been through." "Then tell me," Jon said, spreading his hands. "Sit back down and tell me. Help me understand. That's all I've been asking for this entire time." For a moment, it seemed like Meghan might actually consider it. Her expression flickered with something that looked like uncertainty, but then it hardened again. "No," she said. "I'm not giving you the satisfaction. I'm not giving you more material to mock me with." "I wouldn't mock you," Jon said sincerely. "I promise you that. If you sit down and have a real conversation with me, I will listen. I will try to understand. I will treat you with respect." "Your respect means nothing to me," Meghan said, though her voice wavered slightly. "Maybe not," Jon acknowledged. "But what about the people watching? Don't they deserve to hear what you have to say? Don't they deserve to see the real you?" "They've seen enough," Meghan said. "More than enough." She turned and walked off the stage without looking back. The audience sat, frozen, unsure how to react. Jon Stewart stood behind his desk, watching her go. He looked at the cameras, then at the audience, then back at the empty chair where his guest had been sitting moments before. "Well," he said finally, his voice heavy with resignation, "that happened." A few nervous laughs rippled through the audience. Jon sat back down slowly, running a hand through his hair. He looked tired, defeated. Not at all like the confident, quick-witted host everyone knew. "I really did want to talk about her charity work," he said to the audience. "I had questions about her initiatives, about her goals, about how people could get involved and support the causes she cares about. I wanted to give her a platform to make a difference." The audience murmured sympathetically. They could see he was being genuine. "But sometimes," Jon continued, "sometimes people don't want what you're offering. Sometimes they come in with their own narrative already written, and there's nothing you can do to change that." He picked up his note cards and flipped through them slowly. "Here were my questions," he said, holding them up. "Question 1. Tell us about your charity work and what inspired you to get involved. Question 2. What specific projects are you most passionate about? Question 3. How can people watching at home support these causes? Question 4. What challenges have you faced in this work? Question 5. What gives you hope for the future? Question 6. What advice would you give to people who want to make a difference? Question 7. Who are your inspirations in this space? Question 8. What's been your most rewarding moment doing this work?" He set the cards down gently, the weight of the moment settling over the studio. "Those were my gotcha questions," he said with a sad smile. "Those were my attempts to embarrass her and make her look bad, by asking her to talk about things she cares about." The audience laughed, but it was uncomfortable laughter. They felt bad for him. They felt bad about what they'd just witnessed. "I've done thousands of interviews," Jon said. "Thousands. And I've had difficult guests before. People who were nervous or guarded or unprepared. But I've never had someone come on and be openly hostile from the very first moment. I've never had someone treat this opportunity with such contempt." He paused, collecting his thoughts. "And the thing that really gets me," he continued, "is that she talked about being a voice for the voiceless, about representing change and progress. But she couldn't even have a civil conversation with someone who disagrees with her. She couldn't handle gentle questions without assuming bad faith. How can you claim to represent dialogue and understanding when you won't even try?" The audience applauded. They were on his side completely now. Whatever sympathy they might have had for Meghan had evaporated during her tirade. "I don't say this to pile on," Jon said, raising his hands to quiet the applause. "I say it because I think it matters. I think how we treat each other matters. I think being willing to listen matters. I think giving people the benefit of the doubt matters. And when we lose that, when we assume everyone's out to get us, we lose something essential." He looked directly at the camera. "If you're watching this, Meghan, I hope you're okay. I hope you find whatever peace you're looking for. And I hope someday you'll understand that not everyone is your enemy. Some of us really are just trying to have a conversation." The audience applauded again, longer this time. Jon smiled weakly and shook his head. "Anyway," he said, "we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll try to salvage what's left of this show. Maybe talk about something less depressing, like the economy or climate change." The audience laughed. The cameras cut away, and Jon Stewart sat there alone, staring at the empty chair across from him, wondering what had just happened and how it had all gone so terribly wrong.